שיר המחלות, אסעיני לכחרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ. אל ייתן למות רגלך, אל ינום שומרך. הנה לא ינום ולא ישן, שומר ישראל. אדוני שומרך, אדוני יצילך, עליית ימינך. יומם כשמש לא יכך, וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור את צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד העולם.
Kol omer kra, va'amar ma'ikra, kol habasar chatzir, v'chol chasto ketzitz hasadeh, yavesh chatzir novel tzitz ki ruach Adonai nashvabo. A voice says, cry out. But I ask, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass, and all of its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, and the flower fades, when a wind from God blows upon it. Surely, therefore, people are like grass. The grass withers, and the flower fades, but the word of God endures forever. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai mi yagur b'yahalecha, mi yishkon bahar kachecha, holech tamim ufoel tzedek v'dover emet bilvavo. Lo ragal al lishono, lo asa l'rehu ra'ah, v'cherpa lo nasa al krovo. O Lord, who will dwell in your sanctuary? Who will live with you upon your holy mountain? She who lives with integrity, who does what is right, who speaks the truth in her heart, who does no evil to a fellow human being. Whoever does these things shall stand firm forever. First of all, there was that voice. You know that voice, right? That unmistakable voice. With that voice, she could have been a drill sergeant in the Marines with that voice. She could have been a radio disc jockey because they like deep female voices. Barry White had nothing on Nettie in terms of a deep voice, I want you to know. And when I see that scene with Charlton Heston on Mount Sinai, Nettie could have been the voice of God in that scene. She really could have had a choice of careers. I really do mean that. She could have done comedy. She could have clearly been a stand-up. She could have been a cruise director or a social director on a cruise or a recreational director, because she knew how to create fun and activity and play sports. She could have been doing those commercials for that battery that keeps going and going, right, going and going, because she never let up. Her energy never let up. She wanted to keep busy. She wanted to keep active, and her energy never waned. She could have been on Jeopardy because she was very smart. She was very well informed. She knew exactly what was going on. She had a fantastic memory. She could have been a good contestant. She clearly could have been the chairperson of the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party. You know this. And I happen to know the director, and she could have done just as well as he's doing right now. Her position, her point of view was clear. It was consistent. It was vigorous. It was well documented. And if she had been born a little later, I think she would have found her place in the world of social media because she would have given great sound bites. She could have done great tweets because in 20 words or less, Nettie would often define the world around her. She had a 2-line soundbite for almost everyone she'd ever met or everyone she'd ever had an interaction with, dating back to classmates, a memory of them, a recollection of them. She had sound bites, Jan, what do you call them, templates, right, of her world that helped define her world. Growing up, she was a daily catalyst of the home, but what she really did for the three of you, she narrated the world for you as she saw it. Whether you agreed with her or not, she was giving you her voice. She had something to say about most things, and she knew she had something to say. It was The World According to Nettie. Can you imagine if they had a film, The World According to Nettie? First of all, the world would be filled with classical music and no other music, because she loved it. She wouldn't have ever had a cook in The World According to Nettie. No one would have ever chosen to transfer in the middle of college in The World According to Nettie. But I tell you what would also be in The World According to Nettie. No one would ever lie, because honesty was very, very important to her. No one would ever go hungry, because she was always very, very worried that the more affluent were not doing enough to take care for those with less. She always thought there should be a greater sense of responsibility amongst community and amongst people. In Nettie's world, there would be loyalty. You would stand behind your friends. And there would always be a college to take additional classes in. And there would be a great deal of spirit in life. There would be a great passion, a great level of activity and camaraderie in her world, and good humor and the ability to laugh at yourself. And most of all, in Nettie's world, there would be you guys, you folks, her kids, her grandkids, staying close and being in touch and helping each other and being close to another, being just the way you are. She made the film. She made the film. Because in the end, she didn't become a professional comedian or a game show player. She didn't become the Democratic Party leader. What she became was your mother and your grandmother. And she was very, very happy with that. And she became a good wife and a friend to many of you. And her entire life, I guess her mantra was, she showed up. She showed up for people. I mean that literally and figuratively. From activities and programs of little children when you were that age to the milestones and simchas of adults. Your mother, your grandmother, your friend, she always showed up. She was there to support the people in her life. She loved being with you. She loved watching you all grow up. And she was fun. She had spice. She gave spice to life. She gave spice to those who were in her life. She played sports, her golf, her tennis. She loved dogs. She had her Betsy. She had her wit. She had her sense of adventure, her outspokenness. It was all part of her world. But she cared. She cared about people. She cared about the people in her life, about her friendships, about her politics, about her beechwood. She cared. She had passion for what was in her life. And I don't know whether you all noticed, she had a rather strong opinion on most things. She probably revealed to you. But it was perfect. It was perfect. It was perfect that she married your dad, who was an anesthesiologist, because he may have had the training and education to know how to put people to sleep in a safe way. But she knew how to wake people up. I mean, it was a perfect match. I understand they met because she sat behind him in class and was annoying him during college or something. In some way she was talking. Her whole life, she had 8 days of activity and 8 days of comments for every 7 days of her life. And that's how she liked it. And he knew, your dad knew what he had. He had an irresistible force of nature. And he liked it. It must have spiced up his life. And her impact on all of you is unmistakable because you have this great thing in your family called banter. It's a great thing. You have a give and take, and you have a back and forth, and you have a gregariousness and an atmosphere, and it didn't come from nowhere. She created a certain atmosphere in your home, and you all still have it to this day, and lots of loyalty, and lots of laughter, and lots to say to each other. And it's true. She was, and she loved being committed to family, committed to her Jewishness, committed to all of you as a community. She had grown up in a family atmosphere that had stayed with her forever. Been very, very close to her own parents, and so dedicated to her sister Flo. They spoke all the time. They could finish each other's sentences, or they didn't have to. They spoke their own language. They understood each other. They complained to each other. They disagreed with each other, like family. Your dad and your mom lived together in happiness. You knew they were a team, and you knew that they had found their place, their identity, by being with each other. Listen, your dad let Nettie be Nettie, and she loved him each day of her life. And it was devastating to her when your dad died. A crushing, and a difficult period in her life. I know, Laura, you said you moved in with her for a period of time to make sure that she'd be okay. Ultimately, she found her way because, as she said, what good is it to be down all the time? And that's really what she felt. No good for her, no good for the people she loved. And she met Art, and they became immersed in each other's lives. Very active, very busy, very supportive. They loved the going and the doing and the being busy. And you were all thrilled. It's so wonderful of you that you were thrilled because she was happy. And you were thrilled that they were married. And you were happy for her. And they made such pleasant and wonderful partners. And then, of course, he also died. Another terrible blow for her. But she kept going because she was still Nettie. She clearly had impact on all of you as individuals and also generations of this family, because she lived life each day fully. She was really a role model for trying to live life on her own terms and yet bouncing back even if life gave her some sadnesses. Always a bit of a philosopher. I think she explained and lived life as it went along. She explained it to herself and to everyone else who was with her. And she certainly lived it in a very unique way. She will be missed. She lived with a good name, and she died with a good name. Jan?
So I want to thank you all for coming to say our last goodbyes to Annette Markell. Did any of you know she didn't even like the name Nettie? She really preferred Annette. But after many years of arguing with people about it, she just Nettie. So I'm Jan, I'm her oldest son. I will try to be brief, and those of you who know me know that brevity is not one of my strong suits. But I will do my best. Nettie was an enigma. She could be difficult, stubborn, argumentative, and inflexible. Yet she was also outgoing, friendly, loyal. And when you were her friend forever. She was extremely supportive, almost overly supportive sometimes. Maybe something that one of us did not do very well, but she would tell us, you're good at that, you're good at that. It was not reality in many cases, but the support was wonderful growing up. She loved her parents, she loved her husbands, she loved her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren. She loved her friends. She loved all things Hillary. She loved Cleveland. She loved all things Jewish, except the religion part. And God help you if you disagreed with her about politics. I have two quick stories about our mom. We kept kosher at home for our grandparents. It was never indicated in any way whatsoever that she really believed in it. She did for her parents, so they would eat over. We had to throw out McDonald's many times when they would pull in the driveway. But she had been told that if you used the wrong utensil for a milk or a meat product, you could bury it in the ground, dig it up, and then you could use it again. So she did that for a while, and then she decided, what do I got to bury it for? She just threw them in the backyard. I'd be out in the backyard chipping golf balls. I'd find a fork. I'd find a spoon. And then she decided, why even go in the backyard? She'll just stick it in a plant in the house. So we, her children, got used to this. We saw spoons sticking out of plants. But I always wondered what other people thought. The first time Terry ever came over and had dinner with us, she whispered very quietly, what's a knife doing in a plant? Lori's friends said it was some kind of a Job spike that was helping the trees grow. Nettie loved sports, especially tennis and golf. Our dad, not so much. When they had a tea time, he would say, you know what, you go play with Flo and Al. I'll play 9. I'll go back home. So that's what they did. He'd go home and pull weeds in the backyard or retire to his basement shop while she played the back 9. Frustrated her to no end, but she gave up trying to convince him to change his mind. He was pretty stubborn too, my father. Her second husband, Art, though, if she said, Art, let's go play 72 holes today, he'd say, where do you want to go? In 5 minutes, he'd be there. But life wasn't easy after our dad died very suddenly in 1984. So for about 9 years, Mom buried herself in work at Mantell and Getz, kept herself busy with bridge tennis and golf. She met Art Markell in 1990. They married in December of 93. After Art passed away suddenly in 96, she fashioned a nice life for herself and continued her busy lifestyle. But we saw a change around 2011 when her best friend Elaine Cohn died. It's almost like a piece of my mother was taken from us. And when the Florence died in 2013, it left a massive void from which Nettie never really recovered. But she marched on, as Rabbi said, as the Energizer Bunny, she kept on going. We're not going to dwell on the last 7.5 months of her life, which were difficult to say the least. We choose to celebrate the 91.5 years of perfect health and a life well lived. We also want to thank Jody Seital for so much help during the last 4.5 months of being my mom's companion and friend. So goodbye, Mom. Your tea time with Flo, Al, and Al and Art is tomorrow morning. Dad will be back at home in his shop building picture frames and fixing black and white TVs for strangers. I've joked many times that when I die, my headstone will merely say Nettie's son. If that is the case, nothing would make me more proud. Goodbye, Mom. We love you. We will miss you, but we will never forget you.
I am son number 2. I've never had a great memory, especially for dates. But one date I had no problem recalling was my mom's birthday. June 15th. That's because it also happened to be my birthday. In fact, one of my earliest memories of childhood is my mom saying to me, "Denny, you are my favorite birthday present." Not surprisingly, we had other things in common as well. Mom and I both loved music, and often, though not often enough, we'd sit at the piano and sing old favorites of hers from the American Songbook. I in a reedy tenor, she in a gravelly baritone. We both enjoyed strolling through museums, though our tastes in art weren't always synced up. I remember once at the Cleveland Museum, I was gazing at a splendid Jackson Pollock. My mom shuffled up beside me and asked, "Why do you like this painting?" I answered, "I don't know, Mom. It just speaks to me." "Yeah," she responded sharply. "I'll bet it's saying, you could have painted that." But there were differences. Remember that memory thing I mentioned earlier? While my ability to recall has been weak at best, Mom seemed to hang on to every detail in cinemascope and stereophonic sound. As Jan and Lori will attest, this could work for one or against one. If you had done something nice for Mom, like buying her flowers, for instance, she'd remember it for years. If you did something not so nice when you were 5 years old, especially something involving not telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth, she'd still be bringing it up 4 decades later. But as faulty as my memory is, there are a few things that will remain fixed forever. Mom's raucous, heartfelt laughter, her warmth and wisdom, her unshakable love for me and my siblings. Those I will remember for as long as I live, especially on June 15th, the day I became my mom's favorite birthday present. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori. I'm the youngest and the only girl. Thanks for coming today. I just want to take a few moments to reflect on the last 7 months of my mother's life. During this time, my mother had 3 major falls. Prior to the first fall, I would describe my mother as fiercely independent, endlessly energetic, and a devoted Democrat. Then came the falls. The first 2 required surgery and rehabilitation at Menora Park. She was no longer fiercely independent nor endlessly energetic, but she worked hard to hold on to as much of both as she could. Of course, she still remained a devoted Democrat. The final blow came after the 3rd fall. She never came back to us completely after that one. No longer energetic, she slept most of the time. No longer independent, she had to rely on others to take care of her. All of you who knew her know this was not the way she wanted to live her life. So today we are here to honor that life, 92 plus years long. At this time, I would like to thank those of you who cared for her at the end of her life, the staff at Menora Park, the staff at Stone Gardens, You took great care of her, and she hardly ever complained about it. I would like to extend a very special thank you to Jody Sayal, who came into our lives shortly after the first fall and stayed on with her till the end. Jody brought a great deal of joy to my mother during the final chapter of her life. In closing, I would like to say, if my mother were here today, she would remind you all to vote on Election Day. She would remind you all, and I don't think I need to tell you who she would want you to vote for. Please rest in peace, Mom. I love you, and I will miss you always. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. I'm Barry Getz. I'm Flo Getz's son, Mantell, part of the Mantell group. My wife told me not to bring up politics, but I have to say that the one word that defined my aunt before she started to have her medical issues was stamina, and she had true stamina. I guess that joke didn't go over very well. Anyway, well, now I know where the fork thing came from, because that happened in our house too. But my mom and Nettie were extremely close, and that doesn't mean that they didn't have their differences, because they did. But my aunt was pretty fundamental in our lives from the time that I was an infant, and the Mantells were pretty fundamental every Friday night at my grandma and grandpa's house. And the two sisters were very, very tight, and as consequently, the cousins were very tight. Marty and Sandy, who I also am happy to speak for today, I hope, and also Jan and Lori and Denny. And it doesn't seem very long ago that I was here saying goodbye to my own mother. And what really got me through that period was my aunt. And my aunt reminded me a lot of my mother, including the voice. In fact, she wrote the book. Okay? And I just didn't think this would happen so fast. And losing Nettie having Nettie around was somewhat of a comfort to me, because I felt like there was still a big part of my mom still there. Losing her is very hard, not only because I love her and she was like a second mother to me, but also because I feel like I'm saying goodbye again to my mother and the Mantells. Mantells live on through me, my children, but I mean, they were the first family, so to speak. So, and Nettie, have a peaceful rest, and my mom was with you. Thank you.
I have to wait for my brother and cousins to support me up here just in case I don't make it. All right. I will cry. I will try and make my crying brief. I rehearsed for my daughter, and she said, "You only cried once, but it was for a long time." So we'll see. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Elise, Nettie's granddaughter. I've spoken to many of you on the phone in the past few months when you called asking about her and were shocked that I wasn't her, since I share her same low, manly voice. I speak on behalf of her grandkids, myself, Bradley, Allie, Sam, Alex, Heidi, and Lisa, and our spouses who she loved very dearly, Greg, Robin, Steve, and Mark. All of us know how special she was and how lucky we were to have her, and for so long at that. We can all speak of her love of dogs, bridge, chocolate, 8.5 narrow shoes, which she said were very rare, so she would buy every single pair she found, even if they were ugly, one pair of which I am wearing today. The Democratic Party, and of course her unique character and voice, which was even monetized in the iPhone app iGavault, which Brad will play you 1 or 2 pieces of, because we can't not play you her voice at her funeral.
iGavault. Ay, 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 ay.
What I can personally speak of was her obsession with pantyhose and tissues, which I only learned of this year while taking care of her the many times that she fell. I can also speak of her as one of my best friends. She was the only real grandparent I had for over 30 years. I could talk to her about anything, and though she could certainly get annoying, especially when it came to politics, there's not much that could truly make me mad at her. She wouldn't protest if I wanted to see a movie that might be scary, like, for example, Jurassic Park, where she went like this and watched the movie because she didn't want to, and slowly but surely was able to tear a rip into one of her tissues so she could watch. She'd give up Friday nights with friends for Shabbat dinners and slumber parties with her grandchildren, and she'd attend every performance and sporting event her Cleveland grandkids were in, which was a lot. And she kept every program. I know, I went through them all in June. After every game or show, she'd say how proud she was of us. The show could have sucked. We could have lost our game or meet, but oh my gosh, were we the most talented people out there. But I don't think she was truly proud of me until I met the man of her dreams. Yes, I said the man of her dreams, though I thought he was pretty great too. I married him and gave her 3 great-grandchildren, a girl, a boy, and most importantly, a dog, which I am convinced was her favorite. No offense, Carmen. As I got older, I truly began to appreciate all this amazing woman had to offer. She was a true friend to many. I had a hard time keeping track of her dinner and movie dates, and was lucky when they included me. Monday night dinners with the old people, as my cousin Allie so aptly named it, was the highlight of my week. As she aged, she never acted like an old lady. She insisted on riding roller coasters at Kings Island for her 80th birthday, going to exercises and Tri-C until the very end. Her social life was more exciting than anyone I know. At synagogue on Yom Kippur, my rabbi spoke about love. And asked us to think about someone who truly loved us. No one has loved me quite like my grandma did. Sorry. And I imagine my cousins would say the same. Some of you out there may think you do, but I'm talking about that tough love, that unconditional love. Love even when I may have done something horribly wrong. I can only hope to provide the same love, compassion, and generosity to my children and grandchildren. She was my seatmate for the High Holy Days, my roommate for family outings out of town, and I didn't even mind when she snored or woke me up early, and my drinking partner for years, though I never developed her love for vodka. She was hip, she was fun, she was vivacious, until she was not. The past 7 months were tough, watching her unable to enjoy the things that made her happy. While we are all sad to have lost the woman she was, and my hopes for having her live until she was 100 are crushed. I know she's somewhere smiling down, knowing she didn't live in a body that didn't feel like her own for very much longer. I will miss her, "Hello, Elise, this is your grandmother," messages on my phone, but will replay the ones that I've kept forever and ever, and I will live the rest of my days with something missing, but will strive to be a positive and supporting friend she was to all those around her. It is fitting that her life would end at the same time of year as her sisters. They are back together now with their Als, probably out dancing with Art, and when they get home, Myrtle will be there waiting. I leave you with this. If you want to honor Nettie's memory, do not donate to a charity. You need to do only one thing. Vote for Hillary. Thank you.
Sounds like you have a good rabbi. I like that rabbi. I like that rabbi. Let's rise, everybody. The memorial prayer.
Mr. Rabbi,
I don't know. Either me or Rabbi.
did I come down?
No, but she was here for Yom Kippur, so it's either me or Rabbi Marcus. I don't know.
Eila malei rachamim, shochaina bamramim, hametzei menocha nechona, tachat kanafei ashchina, b'mahalot kedoshim udhorim, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת חנה בת אלה וליבה שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תחי מנוחתה. אנא באה לרחמים, אז תראה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, ותצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם, אדוני ונחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen.
May we remember all of the worthy and the righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. God is now her portion. May she rest in peace. And we all say Amen. Let's be seated. We want to offer our condolences to the Kleinman, the Markell families, to Jan and Terry, Lori and Carl, Dennis and Darcy, Elise and Greg, Bradley and Robin, Alex, Allie and Sam, Lisa and Mark, Heidi and Stephen, Donovan and Carmen, Jordan and Ariel, Zach, Bryce, Kyle, Harriet, Bob, and to many friends, other relatives who are mourning as well. The family will be receiving visitors following the full service today, following the burial service. We'll be receiving visitors at the Four Seasons Apartments, 26600 George Zeiger Drive, and that would be today until 5 p.m. Then, tomorrow evening, at the Kleinman residence, Jan and Terry Kleinman in Mayfield Heights, tomorrow evening from 7 to 9, and again at the Kleinman residence on Sunday from 1 to 6. Let's remain in our seats for another moment. We're going to arrange the processional to take us to the burial site. The pallbearers, however, should now come forward.